The Monday, May 12th, 2025 meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Gottlieb. Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Mayer.
Here.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Schlegel.
Here.
And Mayor Hanley.
Here. Commissioners, can I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Gottlieb? Commissioner Davis?
I move we excuse Commissioner Gottlieb for personal reasons.
And a second. Commissioner Larson?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. I have 3 announcements today. The first is about our bike and rodeo safety fair that we'll be having here in the city. You can register today and join the city for a family-friendly community event for children of the city of Marquette, ages 5 to 12. Event activities will include helmet and bike fitting, pre-ride safety checks, and basic maintenance performed by a local bike shop mechanics. Skills and obstacle courses and a safety fair to include displays of some of our local first responders' emergency vehicles and equipment, a free helmet, headlight, tail light, and more for all in attendance. A rain day event scheduled for June 1st. You can register online at the City of Marquette's website, marquettemi.gov. The capacity is limited to 100 riders, so if you're interested in this, please get on there and sign up soon. Our second announcement is the Planning Commission will be holding a public hearing on Tuesday, May the 20th, in Commission Chambers here at City Hall. The Planning Commission will be holding this beginning at 6 p.m. to consider comments on a large number of amendments to the Land Development Code, which constitutes a wide-ranging, comprehensive assortment of changes to the codes that will regulate development at all scales in the city. The meeting will begin at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 20th, and interested parties should contact the Planning and Zoning Office for more information. And my last announcement is that this week, May 13th through the 18th, is Ron Cater's Garden Week. This is a week created to honor the legacy of Ron Caters and his gardening all around the city of Marquette, along with his, the goal of it is simple. It's just to encourage people to get out and enhance gardens in his honor. So you're encouraged just to go out and make Marquette a little bit more beautiful of a place now that he's not here to do that for us. So if you feel moved to participate, please do so. Now that moves us on to boards and committee. We have one appointment this evening.
Mayor Hanley.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip something?
I think you need to approve the agenda still.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where did I do that? I skipped to announcements right over that. Thank you. Commissioners, we have an agenda in front of us. Do we have a motion? Pro Tem Schlegel?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do we have a second? Sorry, Commissioner Mayer?
Second, Your Honor.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Now, let's move on to our appointments. Commissioners, do I have a motion on appointments? Commissioner Larson.
I move that we appoint Eric Papour to the Traffic Parking Advisory Committee for an unexpired term ending 5/30/25 and the subsequent term ending 5/30/28.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Davis?
I'll second the motion.
Any comments?
Only that we appreciate you serving.
All right. All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to our first public comment portion of the evening. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and physical address when you're speaking. Do we have anyone for public comment?
Leslie Williams from 124 Blemhuber Avenue. I've already been here to try and explain that the garbage carts do not work for me because my driveway is surrounded on 3 sides with walls, and I store my snow there. I considered putting the carts on my deck, but that's 13 steps up from the street, and I can't carry them that far, especially when they're full. And so I've been to, the website to see what my options are, and there is a section for non-curbside waste disposal, which is what I assume what I would be doing, because I'd have to take my bag of garbage to the transfer station. And so if that's really where that fits in, that means I'm going to have to pay, go in there, get my car weighed, drop off the garbage, and then pay to have my garbage disposed of just because I can't use the carts. So if I would like some assurance that I could bring my garbage every week or every 2 weeks during the winter, and that's 4 months, December through March, is when I shove my carts underneath my deck, and be able to drop them off without charge. So, and I have a picture of my driveway in case anyone wants to look at it and come up with a suggestion for how I could use the carts. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, my name is Brian French. I live at 229.5 West Washington Street. I'm the property owner of 225, 227, and 229 Washington Street. Currently ran Third Coast Pizzeria through it, but formerly it was Aubrey's. My concern to you guys today is I've submitted a bill to the city of Marquette. On January 12th, there was some plowing issues where your plowman was driving too far down the street. He was 12 feet away from my building and somehow casted slush 17 feet up my building. I contacted Scott Cambenzi. He saw it. We have tapes of him actually saying that it's obvious that our guy has been going too fast and that this wasn't right. We asked for the city to fix it. He sent a guy there with one towel to wipe down the facade, my windows, everything. It actually made it worse than what it was at the beginning. So what I have for you guys is I've sent him the bill for 5 months now. Every Monday at 9 a.m. our computer automatically sends him the bill, but it's been ignored. We've called a few times and not gotten any response from him. My GM has called as well. I know he's a busy man, and I'm not trying to cast any shadow on him, but I would have appreciated some sort of contact back. The bill is for $315. It went down the whole side of all 3 addresses. Scott saw it. Like I said, we have tapes of it. We've got pictures. I've got all the documentation that I need. I'm just wanting to know, who do I submit the bill to get payment for this? I'm frustrated, and I don't feel like, I am held to a certain standard with you guys, and I would like to be able to believe I can hold you guys to the same standard as well. So that's, I guess, does anybody have an answer who I can submit a bill to?
We are not allowed to comment right now, but we will, in commissioner comments, make sure to address this for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. Let me start by saying I'm losing patience with the city of Marquette and its ability to address legitimate concerns of residents. I start off by saying that because in the past month, I've had occasion to address things I've noticed in and around town, and I don't perceive any response meaningful so. I am getting communication, I understand that, but we are now faced with a variety of things that could cause danger to life and limb. Plus, we are now being denied access to certain parts of our parks, which are being vandalized. And in no particular order, because I have put most of this in writing, I want people to know that the Charlie Caboggum grave on Presque Isle has been vandalized. Stones have been removed from the gravestone. The sign that indicates who Charlie Caboggum and his relative were has been vandalized, carved, and the history that I grew up on, what an important man this was to the history, the last person to live on Presque Isle, is missing. And when I reached out to the city, the arts community, the people I think would fix it, they said, and I quote, "We didn't know it was happening." And I thought, that's odd, because I saw it as clear. I mean, I'd been told it had been vandalized, and I had sent pictures. Number one. Number two, last summer I sent pictures 3 times about the steps going down to the breakwater at the island. They are not passable. And when I say they're not passable, somebody's going to take a header and get seriously injured if they try. You can't even use the railing there because it's so full of splinters. And this is where people go down to walk on the breakwater. And this is part of a public park that people heavily, heavily use. And that, I would say, needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Number 3, recently went through wildfire training with the DNR and learned that second and third week in May are the worst for wildfires, and was walking the island with a friend of mine, and we counted over 120 people doing exactly what we were doing. It was a beautiful afternoon, and I thought, what happens if the island catches on fire? How do we go, and where do we go? We're local people. We know where the road is. But on any given stretch, that road is going to be blocked in for the first 5 minutes, and on the left side, the shoulder is soft, and on most of the island, it's a 4-foot deep trench. I'll have more to say at the second comment, but when I say I'm going impatient with the city, that's the message I want to leave you with. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone? Okay, with that, public comment is closed for the evening, or for this session. We have one presentation tonight, the Marquette Area Sister Cities Partnership by Tristan Loma.
Good evening. My name is Tristan Lulma. I'm honored to serve on the board of directors for the Marquette Area Sister Cities Partnership, and thank you for allowing me back here. I think this is my 4th or 5th time in a row to give our annual update, what we've been up to this past year. So the Marquette Area Sister Cities Partnership is a nonprofit organization in town devoted to supporting and maintaining international relationships with the city Marquette sister cities of Higashiomi, Japan, and Kayani, Finland. Quick look at our board. You'll see a lot of familiar names here. I want to point out a few in particular. Maureen Jensen is our chair. Paulette Lindberg and Mary Lou Blumquist, our 2 vice chairs, are with me this evening, as is Bill Brazier, our treasurer. Paulette Lindberg and Bill Brazier also serve on the Michigan Shiga Sister State Board, which I'll get into in a second here. And another person I want to highlight is, of course, Commissioner Davis. She is the representative on behalf of the City Commission to our board, and we're very grateful for her contributions over the years. So starting off with Japan, 1968, the state of Michigan and Shiga Prefecture in Japan formally entered a good sister city relationship to help build international goodwill and provide opportunities for cross-cultural engagement through annual delegation visits and outreach. Now going on 46 years ago, on August 13th, 1979, the city of Marquette entered a formal sister city friendship with Higashiomi, formerly known as Yokkaichi, becoming the 7th city of Michigan at the time to establish such a friendship, and to date we are one of 14 within the state. Also want to highlight, today is the exact 46-year anniversary of the signing of the friendship originally, when Price Duerfeld, the late great Price Duerfeld, paid visit to Yokkaichi and signed that. So very honored to kind of, keep the mission going on in his vision, and grateful for everything he contributed to our program over the years. So last summer, regular delegation visits between Higashiomi and Marquette resumed. As you may remember, there was a brief, few-year-long hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But this past summer, we were excited to host a delegation from Japan to Marquette. So I just have some photos to share from that. Photo of them arriving at the airport, and Mayor Ogura is actually the mayor of Higashiomi, was visiting along with him. He's the one hitting the stanky leg on the right. Visit to commission chambers. Some familiar faces here: Commissioner Ottaway, Commissioner Davis, Mrs. Kovacs. Thank you for playing such good host to them during their visit. These pictures don't do justice to the amount of things they went, saw, and did that week. So it's always great to be able to introduce them to decision makers within the city and welcome them with open arms. As part of the delegation visit, we planted a special Japanese maple tree down at Matson Lower Harbor Park, celebrating the friendship again. Circuit Court Judge Andy Griffin's part of our board. He gave them a tour of the county courthouse. Outdoor recreation, of course. No trip to Marquette's complete without a trip to Presque Isle. This one's for Mayor Hanley. Visit to the Children's Museum, checking out some of the animals there. Excited about some animals more than others. A little apprehension with the boa, but we get that. This photo on the left here is pretty special. One of our volunteers, Jacob Darner, local artist in town, helped put together an art exhibition at Wintergreen Hill Gallery and Gifts. And then Wintergreen Hill put on a little reception for them. So thanks to the Songers for doing that. It's just really nice community gathering in the back there. And then had to include a photo of America's finest food, Buffalo Wild Wings. So delegation visits, looking ahead, this July we'll be sending a delegation of 7 of our community members to Higashiomi. That's going to be over the last week of July into the first part of August. One other thing we want to spotlight from this exchange, we had a very special honor this past February. Our very own Paulette Lindbergh was invited to Higashiomi for a celebration of Higashiomi's 20th anniversary of city establishment. As part of the celebration, she received a very well-deserved award for meritorious service in honor for decades of contribution to our international friendship. Paulette's now been involved for 45 years. She was there the second year of this friendship and done so much to bring it to where it is today. This photo is from the ceremony itself. She's on the left. Photo of the award she received with the translation. And the certificate she received with the translation of part of it. Another awesome aspect of our friendship with Japan is the student exchange. So Northern Michigan University and the Japan Center for Michigan Universities in Higashiomi are part of a student exchange every year. So this year, NMU sent over student Ethan Ormsby for the past school year, and JCMU sent over Tsubasa Wada to NMU to enjoy the past school year. Tsubasa is the 42nd scholar we've had in Marquette, hosted by NMU. Share some photos from both of their experiences. This is over in Japan, again in February with Paulette. Kana and Masao, that you see on the left there, they were former scholars who came to NMU in previous years, and then Ethan's on the right. Another photo with Masao, and then at the bottom right there, that's Mayor Ogura with Kana and Ethan. And then Tsubasa's visit, there's some fun ones in here. Big thanks to Pam and Ralph Christensen, who were host family for Tsubasa when he wasn't in the dorms. Sent me a lot of great photos, as did Lila Islieb from NMU International Studies. So it's him arriving at the airport. Enjoying all there is to see and do around here. The bottom left is from the UP 200. The middle one is Benny the Beard Fisher. Benny the Beard Fisher, pardon me, a public art installation outside of Germfast, which is awesome if you haven't seen it. It's right along the Manistee River. More recreation. And this photo on the left is pretty special too. Lila wanted me to point it out. The gentleman on the left is Chad Frost. I want to make sure I get this right. He runs the Michigan side of JCMU, which is the educational facility that NMU students enroll at when they receive the reciprocal scholarship from Higashiomi. And he's also the head of the Michigan Shiga Sister State Board. It was awesome to have him in town and for them to catch up. Then finally, from Tsubasa's visit, we take part in Peter White's annual Winter Wonderland walk, decorating a tree, half in Japanese decorations, half in Finnish decorations. So it's fun to have him there as part of it and see that process. Jumping on to Kayani. July 30th, 1997, the city of Marquette entered a second sister city of friendship, this time with Kayani, Finland. Marquette's one of just 12 U.S. cities to share a partnership with a Finnish city. And after a period of inactivity, we're excited to share that we sent a delegation of 4 to Kayani this past September. Randy Jensen, our delegation leader, presented on this a few months ago, but nice to touch base again because it was a huge portion of this past year. So we're excited to kind of get the ball rolling again. It's a very productive trip. This us being welcomed on the left there. The woman in the middle is Stina Hovinen. She's works for the city of Kayani. Is kind of the delegation leader on their end. and then meeting with city officials on the right. The bottom left is actually from Kiani City Hall. We met with the HR director, and he gave me a very interesting talk about city HR and employee wellness, which I took a lot of notes on. So that was really cool. Top left is from the hospital system there. And then on the right is an exchange between the two Lions clubs between our two cities, of which Maureen is a member. More photos from the visit. Bottom left is from a steamboat cruise down the historic river going through Kiani. And then the photo on the right is from the historic Kiani Castle that lies within the river. Dog tax, really cute dog. Also on the steamboat. And then that's our full delegation with our host families on the right there. We got together on one of our days off to do more of the, one-on-one personal catching up. More photos from around the castle, the park space around it, and we did see Northern Lights. So we're currently working with our friends in Finland to organize a trip from Kiani to Marquette later this year. If you can imagine it, Kiani City Council is 51 members and partisan, and they just had their elections, so they're waiting to see how all that falls. But once city management is in place, we're going to approach them a little more formally and try to get something set up before the end of the calendar year. Then I reported on this last year, but in 2026, we're invited to visit Kiani in celebration of the state of Kainu's 375th anniversary. A couple of quick updates, other things we've done, kind of more local. Last year, as part of Art Week, City Marquette Art Week, we welcomed Kivajat, which is a Finnish American youth folk dance group from the Houghton Hancock area. They came down and presented a workshop and a performance at the Marquette Commons. It was a rainy day, but the clouds parted right in time for the performance. We had a good group of a few dozen people out there. Really, really fun time. And then our last major update is that Sister Cities Partnership has formed a subcommittee to explore inclusion in the city's developing shoreline cultural trail. We want to honor the decades of international friendships developed between Marquette and our sister cities. Some ideas that we've talked about so far got a long way to go with fundraising efforts, but include site adoption, maybe some garden plantings, or public art installations to speak to these friendships. And again, thank you for all of your support. Every time we have delegations here, we're so grateful that you all are so easy to work with, you're embracing, you've been so engaged over the years, and we really appreciate having this connection. Thanks.
Thank you, Tristan. Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions? I mean, I assumed.
She's looking to me. So as I understand from one of Paulette's emails, that this is May 12th, and it was 46 years ago on May 12th that Price Deerfield was over in Japan signing our letter of agreement. And I think that's very significant that we're meeting on this day. So since that time, and this again is information from Paulette, because I rely on her for a lot of this history. A couple of years ago, she told me that over 2,000 people have been affected by this program, either traveling to Japan or from Japan here, or being part of the educational initiative. So I think that's very significant that we have that many people in an exchange for what? 4,000. Okay. Thank you, Paulette. And I appreciate that you mentioned both Price Deerfield and Paulette, because I think they're very significant in this relationship that we have. Price was a member of the Marquette Rotary Club, and which of course they have a very much of an international initiative, and he was very instrumental in getting this sister city going. And Paulette has been involved since year 2, which is 45 years. And of course, she's been a tremendous leader of our delegations over the years. And I guess congratulations on your award, Paulette. And I don't know if everyone recognizes how significant that award was. And I'm glad she was able to travel to Japan for that. So, I think we can be really proud of this relationship that we have with both of our cities. And if people want to get involved, we could host one of the Finnish people that are coming here this fall, or if you're interested in a future trip, let one of the board members know. And thank you, Tristan.
Thank you, Sally. Anyone else? Anyone else? Mine? All right. Thank you, Tristan, so much. It's
Gotcha.
always very informative. All right. This brings us to our consent agenda. Commissioners, do we have a motion on consent? Commissioner Ottaway?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. A second? Commissioner Larson?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to our first new business item, ordinance 2505, solid waste collection, which will be a roll call vote. City Clerk, can you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. In January, the City Commission approved an amendment and extension to the city's contract with Waste Management for curbside residential collection services. This amendment included the transition to a fully carded collection system and provided for the curbside collection of materials to take place during the day. The proposed ordinance, a draft of which is attached, is intended to update regulations related to the placement and removal of containers for solid waste collection. The proposal updates the City Code's definition of appropriate garbage containers, Section 3824, and would clarify the required processes and timelines related to placing garbage containers curbside prior to collection and for removing them following collection, Section 3821. In addition to the draft ordinance, staff has attached a document showing the specific changes being proposed. Per city charter, an ordinance cannot be adopted at the meeting at which it is introduced. This ordinance was introduced at the City Commission's April 28th meeting. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, adopt ordinance 2505. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Ottaway? No. I thought you moved your hand. I'm sorry. I can get someone else. Commissioner Larson?
I move that we adopt ordinance 25-05 as presented.
And do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I do think this is a natural continuation of what we decided on, earlier in the year to move forward, with garbage collection. So I think this is certainly something that's needed. I think we do have some questions on how things, may move forward for some particular residents. But, as far as moving forward with this, I'm in favor of making that happen.
Thank you. Commissioner Ottaway?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important that we address, ultimately what we're looking at from a challenge when it comes to the city of Marquette. There's not much out there from a competition standpoint when it comes to who's picking up our garbage. I've heard a lot of residents say, hey, why don't we just bid this out to a competitor? We've tried. I mean, ultimately, those options are there. Unfortunately, the area we live in, there's not a solution to that problem at this time. So, as I speak to the residents, on the air, just know that those options are always out there. And if a company is willing and able to come and put a bid in future time, we certainly will listen to it. It's just something that's not there right now. So I think that's important to know. Thank you.
Any other commissioner? Pro Tem Schlegel?
Thank you, Mayor. It's really a tough one because I sympathize with people like Leslie who came in to tell us about her issues tonight. I've had a number of people reach out to me over the last couple of weeks and voice their displeasure with this specific idea. I think that what we're doing here, obviously, it's been mentioned from staff, is that we're catching up with the times. We're being more efficient. We're trying to do what it takes to give us the best value that we can from our waste haulers. At the same time, it's not going to work out for everybody. And I guess what I would really encourage you to consider is if you're one of, most people that are reaching out to me are the ones that have a bag maybe every week, where the smaller bag made a lot of sense to them. They don't want the big container. So what I would suggest is, getting to know your neighbors. And if your neighbors are able to put out a can, talk to them and say, would you mind if I, every once in a while, drop a bag in your trash along with yours on pickup night or pickup day? I should say it's going to be changing to today. But, work with your neighbors and get to know them and create the relationship. I think that that's a good way to help with some of these issues. Not all of them, but having conversation with city staff, I think that what we're going to do is we're going to get into this. We're going to incorporate all of these changes, see how it fits, and if it can be changed or tweaked a little bit, we're going to be able to have that flexibility in the future. But we really got to go into it kind of in a maximized package to begin with, in order to make sure that that we're doing everything that we can to make this system work first, and then if there's something that we can do to maybe lighten the load for certain groups, then we can do it that way. But I think that this is a fair progression into the times and what we're having to deal with trash removal, and I'm open to hearing feedback as time goes on with of certain residents and their likes and dislikes with the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay, seeing none, City Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schlegel,
Yes.
and Mayor Hanley.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to ordinance 25-06, street parking restrictions. City Clerk, can you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. In January, the City Commission approved an amendment and extension to the city's contract with Waste Management for curbside residential collection services. This amendment included the transition to a fully carded collection system and provided for the curbside collection of materials to take place during the day. The proposed ordinance, a draft of which is attached, is intended to create a framework under which the city may implement on-street parking restrictions to facilitate curbside collection during the daytime hours. The proposal establishes a system wherein the City Commission may adopt a resolution restricting street parking in areas and during times impacted by scheduled solid waste collections. The ordinance would also provide the Commission the ability to approve temporary street parking restrictions through a similar process. Additionally, it would clarify the process for establishing immediate short-term parking restrictions. Per city charter, an ordinance cannot be adopted at the meeting at which it is introduced. This ordinance was introduced at the City Commission's April 28th meeting. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, adopt ordinance 25-06. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Ottaway?
I move to adopt ordinance 25-06.
Pro Tem Schlegel?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Kind of just piggybacking off of the last ordinance, that's why we're here to speak on this one as well. As we look at this, I've had, and I know other commissioners have as well, had people reach out with concerns when it comes to parking, and talking about our garbage pickup system. I just want everyone to understand that the city is doing this with the best of intentions, okay? We are not trying to punish people who are parking in an incorrect spot or blocking a garbage cart. Ultimately, we want the best for all residents, including people who have garbage out that night. We want to make sure that our vendor can pick up the garbage. So this is just more than, essentially a housekeeping item is really what this is, to help regulate and make it easy for that garbage to be picked up. So I just want the public to understand that we're not doing this maliciously, and it's certainly something that just we need to make sure we have control over. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, it's really one of those requirements of the change with the times. I think that this is another one of these ordinances that we're going to put in place that's going to be able for us to observe it, talk with the waste haulers as the time goes on, and see if we need to be as strict as we are being with this specific verbiage in the future. And I'm sure that staff will be happy to go back and say, you know what, maybe maybe we can tweak it a little bit here or there in order to make it less demanding on the household. So bear with us. We're going to get through this. It's just a little bit of growing pains. And thank you for your patience.
Anyone else? Seeing none, City Clerk, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Mayer,
No.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Schlegel,
Yes.
and Mayor Hanley.
Yes. Motion passes 5-1. Up next, we have our Bike Month proclamation. City Clerk, can you please read the background?
Thank you, Your Honor. Background says, in keeping with our designation by the League of American Cyclists as a silver-level bicycle-friendly community, the City Commission is being asked to declare May 2025 as Bike Month. Through partnerships, the city will promote the use of the bicycle as a healthy means of transportation and recreation, as well as promote safety and awareness through our upcoming bike rodeo. Fiscal effect none. Recommendation, adopt the proclamation as presented.
All right. Sorry. Commissioners, do we have a motion, please? Commissioner Larson.
I move that we adopt the proclamation of Bike Month as presented.
Second. Pro Tem Schlegel.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
I think it's just a great reminder of how accessible and enjoyable our community can be on two wheels.
Thank you. Pro Tem Schlegel.
I'm good, thank you.
Any other? No. Okay. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Up next, we have our National Public Works Proclamation, Works Week Proclamation. City Clerk, can you read the background, please?
Mayor, there is no background here, but I'm happy to read the proclamation.
I would love that. Thank you.
You got it. National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the city of Marquette. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas the hard work, dedication, and professionalism of public works professionals deserve recognition and appreciation, and whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Marquette to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest in and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association. Now, therefore, the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Marquette hereby designate the week of May 18th to 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in paying tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. Dated this 12th day of May, 2025, and signed by Marquette City Mayor Jessica Hanley.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Pro Tem Schlegel.
I would make the motion to approve the proclamation for National Public Works Week as presented.
Thank you. A second? Commissioner Larson.
Second.
Any discussion?
Only the fact that, as serving under advisory roles through so many years prior to being on the commission, I've got to really work hand in hand with a lot of great public works officials and staff here in the city of Marquette. And we are blessed with a pool of very talented professional public works people. And I think it's a compliment to everything that they stand for our community, our infrastructure, and everything that they've got to deal with on a seasonal basis. So I'm very happy to see this proclamation come through. Thank you.
Discussion? Nope. Discussion from anyone else? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to item number 8, the Marquette Cultural Center and Trailhead Bid Award and Construction Contract. City Clerk, can you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor. At the February 20th, 2024 meeting, the City Commission approved a resolution accepting a Michigan Department of Natural Resources Spark grant agreement in the amount of $458,800 for the Cultural Center and Trailhead project. The city also received grant funding in the amount of $583,750 from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation through the RAP 2.0 program. Total grant funding for the project is $1,042,550. At the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the City Commission, the bid for design services for the Cultural Center and Trailhead was awarded to Locust Architecture, Ltd. Of Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the amount of $128,570. At the April 14th, 2025 meeting, the Commission approved a change order to bring this contract to $154,759. Staff has since advertised this project for bids, and 2 bids were received. Cross Construction at $1 $1,880,800, and Primo Construction at $1,801,571.64. Both bids were substantially over budget, so staff worked with the DNR to issue a post-bid addendum. Cross Construction declined to continue with the process, but Primo worked with staff and Locust to value engineer the project and to bring construction costs down to $1,024,041 for a total project cost of $1,178,800. This project will renovate the interior of the facility that will house the Arts and Culture Division of Community Services. The facility will provide restrooms to the public during normal park hours. Other scope items include landscaping, ADA access to the Father Marquette pathway and building, a trail spur that connects the park to the city multi-use pathway, public drinking fountain, and signage. Value engineering greatly reduced the landscaping and paving aspects from the original plan. Fiscal effect: the two grants will reimburse all but $136,250 of the total project costs, including design and construction. Staff is working with community partners and the MEDC RAP program to cover these costs. Recommendation: award the bid to Primo Construction, approve the construction contract in the amount of $1,024,041, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign it. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Davis?
I move that we award the bid to Primo Construction, approve the construction contract in the amount of $1,024,041, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign it.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
All right, discussion?
Yeah, this is a situation where we are very fortunate to have over $1 million towards renovating a building that really needs some renovation and will be a real kind of a shining star for our city as you enter the city from that area. It's unfortunate that the bids came as high as they did, but as I looked at all of the materials in our packet, I was really impressed with the work that was done to bring the bid within a reasonable amount that we could put into our budget. So I'm really happy to support this and really appreciative of the two grants with over $1 million towards the renovation of that building.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a difficult thought process for myself all weekend long. Really looking at this packet and knowing that this was going to be here, and really as we look at the shortfall, of $135,000, and I'd really sit here with very much understanding budget constraints with the city. So I took the time really to get to know the property aerially, as well as driving by it multiple times and really thinking about what it could be, and kind of the shortfalls that it is now, and ultimately, if the building goes left as is, what would it become? And it would not be probably long until the building is blighted. It's ultimately we are being gifted a large sum of money. Unfortunately, I think it's at the wrong time for us to try to come up with the rest. But I do have faith that that money is going to be raised in some way or another, so it's not going to cost our budget, $135,000. To me, this is, like I said, difficult decision, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. And I think in the long term, the long-term issues that the building might have if they go untouched would outweigh this $135,000 shortfall in the future if it were just left as is. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Pro Tem Schlegel?
A question, I guess, for staff is, there were a number of items that were cut from being either remodeled or replaced, or, as far as expenses go to the construction. If, knowing that we've got some life left in, a roof or a boiler or mechanical system, who's on the hook for these expenses in the near future?
So those type of large, improvements, or it would be considered capital improvements and would be then included into our capital improvements plan and in there for consideration. But ultimately, that would be the city. It is a function of the city and one of our departments.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Primo Construction for coming back and whittling this budget down to something that is much more respectable than I initially were handed. It was pretty scary to see that big number, but I get it. You know, you're going to ask for the big ask when it comes time to do something with a building like that. So, my compliments to the city staff that worked on this, as well as Primo Construction. I'm going to be real honest with this one, is that I struggle with bringing on, I'm not going to say a sinking ship, but a building that maybe has seen its time, and we maybe should have, there should be a different approach. But I think that staff has done their due diligence with this and has changed my mind enough for me to vote in favor of this. But at the same time, when I look at the city and its infrastructure and all of the buildings and everything that we're responsible for taking care of, I think of efficiencies, and it's also part of what I do for a living. But I really hope that you know, something doesn't happen that we're going to be unexpected expenses and things along those lines that we really just can't afford right now, even though I know that we're heading in the right direction. So I would hope that things are taken care of the best as they can. So thank you.
I think one of the questions that I had looking at this is that the initial bids that came back were very, very high. So I guess, is that a question? My question is, like, when we went forth with that grant application, were we overzealous in what we thought could be done for the amount of the grant that was in there? Or is it really a case of materials, labor costs, things along those lines that kind of went up?
If you are okay with it, I would like to allow Community Services Director John Swenson to kind of explain that process, because there was quite a bit of planning that went into this with the architecture and then also with the materials, and so he has some information on that.
Yeah, I'd say that, you know, anytime we go into these processes, there's always the question of what the market's going to be like, what the construction realities are going to be like. The difficulty with writing the grants is oftentimes you're doing this a long time before you get to the project. And so, and you're oftentimes doing it without, you get the grant funding, which leads to the design process, which leads to, you know, that final number. I think that it was maybe a little bit of both. I think that, you know, the market definitely is in a place where, you know, the bids are coming in high everywhere with everything. But there was a bunch of things in there that, you know, we probably could have right-sized. But to that, I would say, to the credit of Primo and to my staff, there was a lot of work that went into, a lot of collaboration also with Locust, the architect, to coming up with some really creative ideas to reduce those numbers. Everybody working across the board, simple things such as, you know, figuring out that, you know, if we move this space over a little bit, that saves a ton of money on plumbing and electric because there's a chase right underneath it. Other things like reduction in length of a hallway, reduce the need for a sprinkler system. It's a small building, and we didn't even think we'd need a sprinkler system in the beginning, but initially that was in the plans. Also, you know, looking at the site, everybody really put their heads together to come up with something that worked just as well as the initial design, if not maybe a little better. And so I think that process I really want to celebrate. The other thing that maybe I should have put in the write-up that's maybe important to mention is right now we're paying about $30,000 for rent of a space for this division of the department. So that's going to be a savings down the road as we look at this space. So there's some benefits right now. Right now, the Arts and Culture Division's in the basement of Peoria Public Library. So,
Thank you. That helps.
Anything else from? Yep.
Yeah, just since we're talking to staff, maybe if we could get clarification on what the likelihood is of, if this were to not pass, us having to potentially give this money back for the grant.
So that would, we did use some of that funding for some of the planning and design, and then providing, and then if we have to return grants, that's usually not seen as a good sign from those granting agencies. But also, this is a really unique opportunity to have funding that we probably wouldn't otherwise have been eligible for that building specifically, and that building still would have needed the repairs that are incorporated into the design. So it's not something we like to really even ever consider. However, given the fact that the bids came in so significantly higher, it was something we had to really make sure we evaluated in case that were the ultimate option, but that is not the case of what we're recommending.
Yeah, we've already got about $150,000 into the design portion of it. So, and both of these grants really work well together. So they complement one another. The DNR grant's more for the accessibility and the outside aspects, and the MEDC is more for the building renovation itself. There's crossover in both of those scope sides as well. But I'm not sure that we could do one piece of it without the other.
Any other commissioners? I will say that I did also struggle when I first saw this. I worried about making a budget adjustment of $134,000. It was a big number. But I did the math on everything else. And I know that this project is over $1 million project right now. And $1 million of that is covered in grants. This building is already ours. We own it. At some point, we have to do something with it. So we're never going to get $1 million again if we turn it down for this building. We already have $155,000 into designs that we would have to pay back if we didn't do this. And yes, we could technically use those designs in the future and pay the $1 million plus, probably higher at that point, to do the project then. So I look at it as, well, it's not ideal to have to go forth and make a budget adjustment of this size. It's definitely going to be for the better. It will be nice to have our own city staff in our building instead of the library. I do like that. I think it will be a beautiful site when it's done. And as we go down the road and move forward with it, there will be things that come up, but it's the same with any building that we own in the city. Our property we have to upkeep. So I am for this. Any other comments from the commission at this point? All right, with that, all in favor, please say yes.
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 All opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to our second public comment session of the evening. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes per person. Please clearly state your name and physical address if you haven't already done so at this meeting.
Leslie Williams, 124 Blemhuber Avenue. Thank you for acknowledging my concern with the garbage carts. And I understand this is part of modernization. Munising even has all cart system, and they don't even have waste management. I believe they have a different garbage company. So I get it. That's where we're going. I would, maybe as time goes on, if it would be possible to get smaller carts that are more manageable, and like it would take me like 3 weeks to fill up one of those garbage carts. But as for the neighbor thing, every evening at 6:30, 3 other of my neighbors and I, we get out on our decks or porches and we say hello and we ring a bell. And so I know my neighbors. I like my neighbors. And that's exactly why I don't feel like I can impose on them my garbage. And, but if any of you live in the city proper and have room in your cart, I would be glad to put my thing there, unless I can take it to the transfer station for free.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street, Part 2. The biggest risk today in the city of Marquette is wildfires. I don't know if you saw it on the news. It's all over Facebook. There was a massive house fire on K Avenue this afternoon. 5 different fire departments came, and all credit to public safety in the city of Marquette. One of the things I'm learning in the Marquette City Police Academy is how many ways in which the different units of government share resources. So to put out one house fire, it took 3 or 4 different departments, plus 2 of the 3 resource officers that the city has on duty. Wildfires don't just happen out in the country where you don't have to worry about them. The island would be considered a prime wildfire. There's more, you had a forester come in here in my time here and say that one fire on the island will take off the entire foliage, and he had a chart about how high the trees were, and you just believe the guy. He knew exactly what he was talking about. The DNR gave a presentation a couple weeks ago talking about wildfires, talking about the second and third week of May are the worst season up here because the foliage hasn't greened up. There's tons of fuel. He has a personal animosity toward jack pine trees because they burn so terribly. But he talked about the embers and the wind and people and animals running with burning embers on them. And this afternoon, we barely escaped loss of more than one house if it weren't for the professionalism of our fire department. So the biggest risk, and I have no idea how that house fire happened, and I'm so glad that no one died, but the biggest risk the DNR guy said was lit cigarettes. And that is day in and day out your number one risk. I walked the island this weekend. I picked up 2 packages of cigarette butts. The worst part is they're within 2 feet of the road, and so they land on fuel. And when we were kids, if you put a cigarette on the ground, an adult would squash it out with the heel of their shoe. None of the cigarette butts in my vehicle have been scratched out. They're literally throwing them from their vehicles or throwing them on the ground, which is to say it's not a question of if you're going to have a fire, it's a question of when. And this is not just true on the island, it's true on the bike path, it's true any parking lots, Matson Park again, and it's true on 3rd Street, which is supposed to be mixed use, but you've got the same thing. You are the people who can do something about this by enforcing the law we already have. I believe that waiting for a committee to make a recommendation is the wrong decision now. I believe you have the power, the authority, and the responsibility to invoke these rules to stop us from burning up when we don't have to. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing that public comment is now closed, which brings us to comments from the commission. Why don't we start with Commissioner Mayer tonight? No, you're good? You don't think? I'm good. Okay, Commissioner Ottaway?
I've talked enough tonight. I'll allow the city manager to use my time.
There you go.
Thanks.
Karen, would you like to explain or touch on a couple of things like the wildfire and then also to address Mr. French's stuff?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So I am somewhat familiar with Mr. French's issue because I was copied on a couple of emails earlier this year when it occurred. So I do want to apologize that there's still some unresolved issues. I was not aware of that. So if maybe after the meeting I can grab your contact information and then we can discuss it so that we can get you some sort of resolution or look into what's going on. So, thank you. And then as it relates to fire and wildfire specifically at this point, and I do want to say that it's really, I really appreciate Margaret looking into a lot of this and being really keeping an eye on these things and kind of looking at what's going on the island. First of all, no smoking is allowed on the island. There are no open burns allowed within the city unless they are for very specific purposes, which are listed in our ordinances right now and on the fire department webpage. But specifically, if we put up any more signs within Presque Isle, I don't believe that anyone's going to listen to those either because they can't do that right now to begin with. So we do have a fire stewardship plan for Presque Isle, and that was completed I think back in 2019, and it is good for 30 years, I believe, or a certain number of years thereafter. And that doesn't mean we have completed it, put it on the shelf, and never look at it again. The fire department and the DNR do go through the island quite frequently, including our fire department, which goes through and clears out a path in order to access the island to get to certain areas on there that may, otherwise be difficult to get to because of traffic or the way that the park is. So we do have that covered. We also do review this plan. And we have, I'm trying to look just at my notes here. We have been working with the DNR, who has been stated by some folks as the expert here for the wildfires in the UP, and that the fuel moisture at the park is high enough and that access is still there for our department to get to it and deal with any fire, and including evacuate the island if necessary. So we are keeping a close eye on this, and we are certainly keeping a close eye on the weather right now too, and the conditions as it is. But we do feel that we have adequate resources in order to address that, to prevent it, but then also to get onto the island and evacuate it if necessary. And the fire this afternoon, whenever we do have a fire structure or structure fire, we generally have mutual aid come and respond. So it may seem that there are extra fire trucks around, but that is part of our process. And I can get more information for the commission here, and I would like to make sure that I do have that information shared with Margaret and the community as well, just to make sure.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
I have no further comments this evening.
Commissioner Larson?
I also have no further comment.
Pro Tem Schlegel?
You know I can't keep my mouth shut. Just two things, very simple seasonal items. One of them is the bike path is incredibly busy right now. Please beware of people walking their dogs with their kids, on bikes, on one wheels, doing whatever. But just please be extra safe when as we get into the season here of heavy foot traffic. The other one is consider. Yesterday I was out having lunch on the back deck in the beautiful weather, and I saw my first hummingbird come in the backyard. So please be aware that these weary travelers have arrived, and if you have feeders out, they would much appreciate a drink, I'm sure. So keep in mind that our birds and bees and everything else, maybe you don't want to do a no-mow May at your house because you want to provide some foliage or some flowering material for the honeybees and stuff. But it's just something to keep in mind this time of year as things kind of come back to life, that everybody could use a little help. Thank you.
All right, I don't have much to say except for to wish Commissioner Larson a happy birthday tomorrow. Yep. Other than that, let's kick it over to the city manager.
If you don't mind, I just want to take a moment to actually let Deputy City Manager Sean Hobbins just do a quick announcement regarding some fun active transportation stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, kind of in the spirit of our Bike to Work Day and Bike Week proclamation, we're undergoing this active transportation process that's grant funded through IMDARD, and at the end of the month, they're going to be in town for the Transportation Palooza. And basically what that's going to mean is a couple community input sessions on the 28th and 29th throughout the day. They're going to go out and set it up in a couple spots where we're hopefully going to capture a lot of people utilizing sidewalks, utilizing bike routes, maybe utilizing trails, and getting their input on what they think infrastructure in the city should look like. And then on the evenings on both those days, we'll have a larger session with a couple different activities that people can express how they're feeling about bike infrastructure, about pedestrian infrastructure in the city, take a look at some of the things we're working on, and just participate. There won't be any kind of, public forum discussion. It'll be more tables with activities, very interactive, and we're working on that. The pop-up sessions will just be around town, trying to capture people naturally. Then the evening sessions on the 28th, I'm working on a location still, but on the 29th, it'll be at the Commons. I'll be posting on the city website, PSA, and social media about that, and going around town and putting up some flyers. So if you see them on the 28th or 29th, stop by. Participate in an activity and just talk about what you think infrastructure should look like in the city.
That's exciting. And lastly, I do want to just recognize Public Works because Public Works Week is next week, and It's a tough one when we have bad weather and good weather for our Public Works employees because they are out in all types of weather and time. So Public Works employees really are the unsung heroes of the community. They're working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure that clean water flows, roads remain safe, and public spaces stay beautiful for all of us to enjoy. Their dedication and hard work really make our city so much healthier, so much stronger, and so much more vibrant. So I'm really looking forward to Public Works Week and taking a moment to really recognize and appreciate those professionals who keep our daily lives running really smoothly and looking really good while they do it. So thank you. I really want to say it's going to be a fun Public Works Week, and look forward to some activities as the week unfolds. Thank you.
All right, with that, we are adjourned at 7:05 p.m.